Welcome, my witches. Is there anyone else awake right now? A few other witches besides myself? I hope so, because I'm so pleased to welcome you to the very first episode of my brand new series, Midnight Ritual. I'm your host, Reverend Lady Kyrbis, coming to you from South Carolina at midnight. I am the High Priestess of Midlands Grove, which is a pagan grove and British traditional Wiccan training circle in the New York Wicca tradition. If you want to learn more about my group or me, please visit the South Carolina pages on Mandragora Magika. Look for Midlands Grove and you will find us. And a shout out to Sai, who founded the website and is doing such wonderful work for all of us pagans and Wiccans and witches. We appreciate you, Sai, so much. So I decided to do this series as a way for me to share with my community of witches, but especially for anyone who might live too far away to work with a coven, because I know what that is like. So tonight, I invite you to join me to experience a ritual of the pagan way to celebrate the spring equinox. So, spring equinox 2025 here in the US. It occurs on Thursday, March 20th at 5:01 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and that marks the official start of spring in our northern hemisphere. On this day of spring equinox, day and night are approximately equal in length. But before we get into our ritual, I wanted to chat with you briefly about the pagan way. I mentioned that a minute ago. I mentioned that we are going to be doing a pagan way rite. What does that mean? Well, if you are an old witch like me, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Younger witches, you may or you may not know about the pagan way, or you may not know its name, but really it does not matter whether you do or not. Knowingly or unknowingly, the pagan way has probably influenced your practice in some way. So, a little bit of history. The pagan way was created in America during the 1970s. Think disco era, in response to the rapidly rising interest in paganism. And its most important contributors were all young Americans, as David Bowie would call them, young Americans at that time. Number one, Gardnerian High Priest Ed Fitch. I know you've read some of his books. Number two, homegrown American witch Thomas Giles. Number three, American witch and publisher Joseph Wilson. So in the 70s, pagan way groves, which is what they were called, spread across the United States, and primarily, of course, in the major cities. Now, there's a lot more that I could share about this movement, but let me just summarize and say that the rituals and lore of the pagan way are open, meaning they're non-secret. They are nature-oriented. meaning they emphasize the celebration of nature over magic. And the pagan way does not have a formal 3-degree initiatory system. The practice is more devotional and celebratory. So when I describe the pagan way, I tend to describe it as beautiful, mellow, very user-friendly, a pagan practice that has tremendously wide appeal because it can be used in both group and solitary situations. It's truly one of my favorite ritual practices, and I find myself returning to the pagan way rites time and again because of their elegant simplicity and their profundity. And I use these rites when working with my students very early on before we moved on to more advanced material. So now we're going to slowly transition into our spring equinox rite. I adapted the ritual for video, so there will be less movement and more focused contemplation. I encourage you, if you feel so inclined at this point, to pause the video, get yourself a candle and some incense, because you can come back and light some candle and some incense and join me a little bit more actively in the ritual as we go through it. Maybe get yourself a hot cup of herbal tea or a lovely glass of wine. Hey, it's midnight. It's time. It's time to enjoy the ambiance of this experience. And then come back, unpause the video, and rejoin me. Now I'd like you to focus on the altar in front of us. At this powerful moment of balance, we are here to honor the transition from darkness to light through this special equinox ritual. And now let's get ready to begin. This is a time that is not a time, in a place that is not a place, on a night that is not a night, between the worlds and beyond. Let's remember that the presence of the noble goddess extends everywhere, throughout the many strange, magical, and beautiful worlds, to all places of wilderness, enchantment, and freedom. Our goddess is a goddess of joy. The winds are her servants. Our goddess is a goddess of love. At her blessing and desire, the sun brings forth life anew. The seas and rivers, they are the domain of our serene lady. The mysteries of the depths are hers alone. Our lady is awesome. The powers of death bow before her. Let's just take a moment to observe our altar, the candlelight, the incense, the beautiful greenery, the plants, statuary, our cauldron, our tools, the light that it's emanating, and let that light surround you. Surround all of us together in this place between the worlds. Here, our circle is sealed, and all of us here are totally and completely apart from the outside world, that we may glorify the Lady and the Lord whom we adore. Blessed be. And if you would, repeat after me now, from wherever you are. As above, so below. As the universe, so the soul. As without, so within. Blessed and gracious ones, on this night do we consecrate to you our bodies, our minds, and our spirits. Oh yes, blessed be. Look into the flames, my witches. It is time to begin our work. And we call upon Our Lady, O Goddess of the earth, be among us now in your aspect as Maiden of the forest, the fair one who brings joy and new life to break the winter stillness and silence. O laughing God of the greenwood with your pipes and cloven hooves, shepherd of creatures free and wild, join us here with your warmth and merriment. Let life be born anew this night. Now inside the cauldron, my witches, I have lovely purified spring water. And to this ritual, I've brought many odoriferous herbs and things that I would call spring catalysts to put into the water inside the cauldron. So this is the time that we would place our tokens that we have brought to this place into the cauldron. Let us do that now. So I've gathered things that spoke to me as catalysts of the spring: ivy leaves, and in this green onyx bowl, I have some bay leaves and some seeds I have one stem from a pumpkin back on Samhain. Chamomile, many seeds. And I also have some twigs. In fact, these are, here we are, rosemary twigs. There we go. So after throwing the leaves and twigs and seeds or whatever spring catalysts you feel are appropriate into your cauldron, into the water, now together let's set our intentions for the light we seek to manifest in the year ahead. May the strength of the old enter into the new, and life arise once more. O great ones of the forest, we ask you to make this potion strong and giving of new life. Blessed be. And now at this point in the rite, there could be relaxation, food, drink, dancing, music, teaching, or meditation as desired. When I'm doing this ritual, normally I'm doing it outside with a wood fire beneath the cauldron, and we get quite a simmer going. Surprisingly, we'll get a little bit of a simmer going even with the candles for heat inside. So whatever way you're working, when the rite is over and the potion cools, divide that among the celebrants and keep it for watering your flowers and trees in your garden, for watering seeds that you sow this spring, or for watering any growing plants that you have in your house. This mixture is most efficacious now that it's been with us and all these good vibes in our circle tonight. This is some good stuff, and you can use it to water plants for quite some time this spring. But remember, whenever you're watering, water with a kiss to thank the gods for their gift to us. night slowly draws to its end, oh, lovely and gracious goddess, be with each of us as we depart. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I can really feel your presence here with me, and you have made this ritual encounter so very special. I can't believe we're already at the end of the very first episode of Midnight Ritual, but we are. And I hope that all of you watching will step into a new cycle with clarity, with purpose, and with a deep, deep connection to the rhythms of the cosmos. That is my wish for you. Good night, my witches. Good night.